Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Josh Jones for another episode of the Harry Potter 25th Anniversary Retrospective series, the twice weekly show where we revisit one of the films, we talk about the film, the actors, the books, the films, everything in between. We have a discussion celebrating the 25th anniversary of the film series. And this week we arrive at Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, released in 2002, directed by Chris Columbus. Josh, how are we doing today?
Really good, thank you. It's great to be back on. I feel like I've been on quite a bit recently, so it's always good to chat films, and especially Harry Potter with it being such a big year.
It is. I mean, I'm talking to you. We're re-recording this like just under a week before this episode's going to go up, so I don't mind saying it. You're going to be very busy this month. You're going to be on your way to D23 soon, on top of a couple of other holidays, which obviously won't disclose or dox you for where you'll be going. But I'm glad I could get you on for this because we've spoken a lot about the show. We know it's going to head into September. Next thing we know, we've got a new TV series. There's going to be announcements. They're announcing things on the website now for events for September the 1st. But I'm sure when you visit America, you'll no doubt find yourselves in Diagon Alley at the theme park. Probably all that sort of. That's going to be me next March/April.
Is it Diagon Alley or is it
Or
Hogsmeade?
is no? It's hot.
I
Do
think
they
it's
both?
Hogsmeade. No, I think they
Is it
just got the one in California. I think it's
Oh,
Hogsmeade.
and the other two both. Everything's in Florida. I get it. I know
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Diagon Alley's in Florida.
Well, we've got the studio as well, so we win. Getting that conversation out of the way. Obviously, we're going to get our own Universal in 2032. I think they say.
Yes.
I say. I think
2031,
they say.
maybe.
Do we, not to speculate about theme parks, do we really think in this country, in this economy, this climate, an entire theme park that this country has never produced a scale of is going to open within, what, 4.5 to 5 years?
I think it'll be 32 earliest.
Yeah, I could see it being a few years after. Not that that's a bad thing. Get it right first. But at least the UK will have something somewhere. But rather than segue into that, which I have done, Josh, I want to put you on the spot. This is the first time we're getting you on for this series. And I want to kind of ask, just for the people at home I'll be watching, what is your own background with, I guess you could say, the Harry Potter series, growing up with them, stuff such as that?
So, I remember Goblet of Fire coming out. I don't have like a complete huge memory of watching it. I know I must have got a Gryffindor scarf when I went to watch the film. I think it was always there because obviously having older siblings, they watch the films. They sort of grew up. They're sort of a more similar age to like Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint. So it was there in the house. I think the first clear memory I have is probably Order of the Phoenix. I had the game on the Xbox. I actually remember going to watch the film. But Goblet of Fire was the first one. We had all the DVDs. I tried looking for it today actually. We used to have it was like a really cool
2 disc
DVD
cardboard.
for cardboard. The first one was blue for
Yeah.
Philosopher's Stone, then it was green for Chamber of Secrets. They're lying around somewhere, so we've always had them. And I'm really excited to talk about Chamber of Secrets in particular because for years, and you can ask anyone who knew me or my family growing up, I used to be absolutely terrified of Dobby. Like I used to have nightmares about Dobby showing up in my bedroom, just very similar to the way that he shows up in Harry's room. And he used to terrorize me. I remember when I found out it was either the cover or the back of I'm sure it's him on the Deathly Hallows cover. It's either him or Creature.
Yes. Yeah, it is Dobby on part
Um,
one.
so I was like, oh no chance. And then I grew a pair, and now I'm not scared of him anymore. I can watch his film, but I'll get into that later. He was terrifying. But yeah, that's where sort of Harry Potter sort of formulated. It was one of those franchises that was already in the house, I guess. And then we had we had like Lego as well, like really, really old early 2000s Harry Potter Lego that I sort of had the remnants of in my big Lego box. So it's always been there, and I think it's such a staple in British culture. I think, and it will always sort of stay there. I think because ITV continues to license films. Um,
We're 2 episodes in, and we've got 2 ITV name drops already. We're on the way. We do have 2 Portuguese guests later on the show, so they might not be familiar with ITV. But yeah, ITV, they're never going to let that go, are they? And neither will this country. And I'm glad you bought
tell when
Lego.
it's Christmas. You can always tell when it's Christmas.
Oh, they're going to be as upset as Sky that the new one's not going to be on there. I'm gonna sell you your Lego comics in a minute. We'll get into our memories on Chamber of Secrets, but you maybe covered that, but we'll still get into it. The official HBO Max synopsis, because it's very hard to find original synopsis from 20 plus years ago. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Young wizard Harry Potter and his friends tried to uncover a dark force that is terrorizing Hogwarts. Name on the tin for the Chamber of Secrets. And what I'll say, 2 episodes in, me and Tate spoke about this a lot on the Philosopher Stone. With this series, we're more looking at the film series as a whole and the anniversary, looking back upon them. It's not going to be as heavy on here's the story, let's dive into this. We'll still talk about the story. We'll talk about moments, characters, world building, but the core, isn't it? Because I'm doing the show anticipating anybody watching knows the film, has seen the film. Doesn't matter if you don't know the book or not, or maybe you're watching in the future and you've seen season 2. That would be something. Guess who's playing Gilderoy Lockhart? I'm not allowed to say yet, but you'll all know eventually. And I genuinely mean that. That's all I can say. So tempted to scream the word I wanted to say, the one number, one letter from a certain recent thing.
Nah.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to, don't worry. But back to Chamber of Secrets. Okay, so I'm a little bit older than you. So this comes out 2002. Now, I have memories of the Philosopher's Stone. The first DVD we got, the one you just mentioned with the Bluetooth sleeve. You had to play the game to get to Diagon Alley. I had a couple of the Lego sets as a kid. Now, obviously, this comes out a year after. So it's almost back to back, let's be honest, with the first. And to me, they very much blend together. The first 2, same director, same almost shooting on location. Prisoner of Azkaban's kind of not a reboot, but Prisoner of Azkaban was like, right, let's nail this down for moving forward for like consistency, castle design, and so on. Whereas 1 and 2 is kind of not experimental, but like they're finding their feet in the film. And I think because they've released so close, I've got this blurred memory of a lot of it around that time, because this was huge for me. I started reading all the books after I saw the first film, like many people my age would have done, that was a little bit older, a little bit younger, than the book. I was born in 96, the first book came out in 97, so my entry point was that first film. I distinctly remember the TV spots for this, because I remember they didn't show the Quidditch match in the TV spot. They showed, well, it is the match, not the stadium. When they're in the scaffolding, Harry and Malfoy. So I remember as a kid being like, oh my God, there's a new type of Quidditch that's going to be shown. Obviously, it wasn't new. It was just, in the scaffolding. But that's when I've got distinct memories of that. And the classic Scared Potter TV spot. Like, I'm at that age where I'm 6 years old. The Star Wars is really in my life at this point. And I get a lot of those Chamber of Secrets. I've got almost the original full Chamber of Secrets wave of Lego sets. That's not a brag. Back as a kid, Lego was not as expensive as it is now, and we used to get a lot of them reduced from TK Maxx. But one of my favorite ever Lego sets is the Chamber of Secrets, because the Hogwarts from the Philosopher's Stone just gets put on top of it. So it was like the modular Lego castles 20 years before they did them properly. And last year, a project I did at home, I restored my original Lego Harry Potter collection from when I was a kid, i.e. found the missing pieces, what they were, the codes, the original colours, get them all mapped up in bags. So my entire Harry Potter collection is like fully back. Obviously, you can see Diagon Alley behind me, the modern stuff, but they were the Legos I enjoyed more than Star Wars, which is weird for me to say, because my issue with Star Wars Lego is Star Wars is so varied. You could do anything. Whereas there's always something a bit special at Harry Potter, that it was kind of pretty much the castle and a couple of other things. And I think as I've got older and want to spend less on Lego, it's more enticing to do Lego Harry Potter. Although the anniversary Lego Star Wars sets, the leaks look pretty phenomenal, because it's behind the scenes stuff, it's cool stuff they've not done before. Sideways tangent, but I love the Chamber of Secrets, and I'll go so far to say this: this was probably my favorite Harry Potter film until the Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was 2011. So I think I turned 15 the week before Part 2 came out. And then in the sort of immediate years that followed, and I'll talk about this next week, obviously Prisoner of Azkaban, studying film, that changes perception quite heavily. And sadly for me, as much as I love the Chamber of Secrets, I've got the nostalgia attachment, it's not held up as much as some of the others. Is that fair of me to say?
Yeah, no, I agree. I looked over because I must have rewatched the film a year or two ago. I would confidently say it as, again, having rewatched it. And actually, I appreciated more this time around, having been to the studio tour twice in the last year. But I do think this sits towards the bottom end of my preferences. I think it's a tie between this and probably Half-Blood Prince for the sort of bottom
Yeah.
end of my rankings. But it's still a good film. I just think it's really stretched out and becomes very long towards the sort of final act.
No, I completely agree. I mean, have you got anything you want to say the memories? Because we can jump into the behind the scenes if you want.
I'm trying to think. I think obviously, was I alive when this one came out?
Oh,
When did it come out? 2002. So I would have been the grand old age of 1. I think honestly, the main memory of this film is being traumatized by Dobby showing up in Harry's bedroom and then at the foot of, I think it's after the Quidditch match, at the foot of Harry's
hospital bed
in the hospital wing. Really, really terrifying. Like, honestly, Dobby used to, like, I'd see him pop up at like the top of the stairs in the house, like, as a child. Just traumatic. And like watching it now, he's not even a scary character. He's cute. He's just a little house elf. I think by the time Deathly Hallows had come around, I'd got over it because I was quite sad, obviously, when he dies.
See, I was a bit of a
Spoilers.
sicko. When he did die, I was never bothered. I found it funny. And as I've got older, I've become far more emotionally attached. Different conversation. That's more like, oh, in the book this, in the book that. I'll get to that in another episode down the line. But let's talk some behind the scenes. Truthfully, there's not an awful lot of behind the scenes on this second film. We spoke about before we hit record. So this film is the second shortest book, but the longest film, which is an insane analogy. In the same way, I do believe, off the top of my head, Order of the Phoenix is the shortest film yet the longest book, which is crazy when people think about that. And not necessarily what's missing, just as a conversational piece. Shortest book, almost longest film. Longest book, almost shortest film. It's quite wild that there's that sort of chart in there. And the making of this, because it didn't shoot back to back with Philosopher's Stone, but because they kept Chris Columbus on board, they kept the same creative team. Obviously, the majority of that creative team stayed from Philosopher through to Deathly Hallows Part 2. We're at a point where we've still got Chris Columbus, who I love. I think he's still, and I'll always say this historically, was the 100% the right person to direct the first few films, to get the cast comfortable on set, to look after the kids with what he'd done before with American films. Obviously, like Home Alone's obviously the go-to, Mrs. Doubtfire as well, working with young actors. It's a no-brainer. And the success of that first one, which, they didn't know at the time, because filming on this film commenced 3 days after The Philosopher's Stone released in cinemas, which is absolutely wild. And a pattern that we'll be repeating this year, with Chamber of Secrets due to start filming in September, whilst we're waiting for the release date for the first one, which I believe is December time. Josh, what's your thoughts on this? This is off the record, not off the record, off schedule. I keep seeing people saying the whole show is coming out on Christmas Day.
No,
am I being thick? I'm under the impression they're using Christmas as the analogy of expect it out in December time.
It is a Christmas Day release for
So you think
for
episode 1 on Christmas Day?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I'm 100%.
I want
And I think it's a
something more
weekly
official.
because it's a HBO original. It's been marketed as a HBO original rather than a Max original, so it will have that weekly terrestrial airing on
weekly, just
HBO.
wherever you watch it.
Actually, the official press release does say Christmas 2026, but I think it will be Christmas Day.
You think Christmas Day? So
what day is Christmas Day this year?
I think, is it a Friday? Is it Friday this year? Because the reason I say this, and for anyone at home curious about how this sort of stuff works, when the trailer just says Christmas, that's quite vague. A lot of films would say Christmas or like coming fall, all that sort of stuff. And I've just presumed it will be at around Christmas time. I've seen rumors they're going to drop all 8 episodes, which HBO never do. But then you sit there thinking, okay, can you really drag out the Philosopher's Stone for 8 weeks? I mean, you probably can, but everyone knows what's coming. But I'm sorry to go on a weird little tangent.
It's a fair tangent to go on. I think they weekly release it. The smart thing is to drop it. You do episode 1 on Christmas Day, and then episode 2 on the 27th. Then you get that Sunday HBO marquee date. And then you do weekly from that, because if you do it the weekend before, everyone's going to be more bothered about Doomsday and Dune. So do a Christmas Day release, episode 1. All it's families, eyes on the show.
Do you want to know what I would do?
New Year's Eve.
Episode 1, start of December, weekly. I'm on a presumption Christmas is like halfway through the first book. Drop the Christmas episode on Christmas Day.
Synergy.
That, because for some reason Harry Potter's become a Christmas series without. I mean, I know Christmas is a part of it, but
do you know whose fault that is? Do you know whose fault that is?
It's everybody's, because they've got Christmas and Harry Potter.
It's ITV's fault.
No, I not just ITV. I think because they in the early ones, because they so heavily focus on Christmas, there's that understandable Christmas rhythm to it. Yeah. And what the show should do, without going off too much on in the books, Christmas is a chapter in every single book. And bar the first film, they never really get to elaborate on the essentials of that every year. Weird tangent from me. I'm trying to remember what they do on Christmas in the Chamber of Secrets. Christmas in the Chamber of Secrets is the Polyjuice Potion Day. I believe that's Christmas Day. I could be wrong. I might be wrong. Off the top of my head, it's around that time, because the first thing happens around Halloween. Not to get on that. I mean, we are talking Chamber of Secrets, so yeah, we've done a little bit behind the scenes.
It's Christmas Day.
It's that film 3 years after. There's really not much we can add on the behind the scenes making this film. We'll talk about Richard Harris when we get to Dumbledore and the recasting process next week when we talk Prison of Azkaban. We've got a couple of new actors we'll speak about later on. With this series, we don't go through every actor, but we'll talk about the big additions in every episode. Obviously, that's much harder to do in the first one compared to the second onwards. But what I want to kind of talk about, Josh, put it on the spot, in the section we call the Wizarding World Building, we get quite a few big updates in this second film. The first being, in chronological order, we meet the Weasley family and we go to the Burrow for the very first time, which becomes a staple location of the series. The first bit of time we spend in a domestic wizarding house, if we want to call it that. What do you make? I mean, I don't want to sit here talking about the Burrow and the analogy and all this sort of stuff, but as a new location, it's really important. But I kind of love how they do it in the film. That you get this moment of not just the car touching down, but Harry seeing all this normal day-to-day stuff done as wizards was. Does that make sense?
I adore the set decoration and just the practical nature of our first, like you said, this first idea of the domestic wizarding world. Obviously, that we see later down the line, like Malfoy Manor, and the difference between the rich and the sort of working class wizards. But it's just so. Obviously, we've had a film of magic, but there's a different sense of magic when we see the Burrow and how the Weasleys live and the like the. I'm sure there's like something knitting and there's all the pots going on in the background and the flu powder as well. I think it's a great little set. Um, it's fun. It feels lived in as well at the same time. Like it's not too far from what we know, but there's still that sort of addition of magic. Um, and yeah, I don't know. This like you said, it's the Burrow. There's not much to say over the top, but it works. It's really cool. I think it matches the Weasleys perfectly. Um,
Yeah.
and I think we see it through Harry's eyes as well. Like he's only really been a wizard for a year. He's still exposed. He's still being exposed to these new experiences and um these new realities. I don't know.
No,
It's a good.
it's tricky to get the
It's a good.
words. I like you said, the set dressing and decorations are quite. I mean, I know you mentioned the studio tour earlier. Obviously, one of my favorite parts of that studio tour is the Weasley when you go to the Burrow bit because it's you press the buttons and it's
All the
all the things
buttons.
move. Yeah, and it's like it's so cool that here's all the things. Although I love the clock. I know everyone always talks about the clock. It's so impractical, but it works. Don't know if that's like a default in every wizard's house or just theirs. They're at school, they're in Azkaban or whatever. But it's a mightily important a location as such that they decide to burn down for no reason in Half-Blood Prince for some nonsense, which I'll get to in a few weeks' time. Which I've got some very strong thoughts on that film for many different reasons. But in terms of world building, there isn't as much in this one, but there's a huge fundamental part of Hogwarts School that I've put to the schedule as world building, which is really the origin and the tale of the four founders, which, you know, contextually back in 2002 or 1998, whenever you read the book, we've heard of these four people that made the school. We know their surnames are attached, we know other things, but there's not a lot of information about them. And certainly in comparison, and I will make this comparison throughout the series, that the benefit the TV show has that the films will never get or have the opportunity to have is they've got a finished series of books, and that first ever day they announce they're writing script or whatever. Because you find out things about the founders in the final book, for example, that will now be contextually taken into account on anything they do. But I love the tale by McGonagall in the film, where she speaks of, you've got the four founders, you've got Godric Gryffindor, who's brave, heroic, he's this, and you've got that dastardly Salazar Slytherin and his kind of contribution in the story of the founders is, well, he wanted purebloods in the school. They all vetoed it, so he left. But when he left, he set upon this monster to haunt us forever. I love the Chamber of Secrets story, as in the concept of what happened all them years ago, because it's the most insane piece of revenge someone could ever do is create a myth or a scare factor that he'd trapped this monster that only he can control. I think that's an incredible bedtime story for a child. But what I think it does, it really lays the ground for what's to come in future films. And even in the context, it is a mystery of, who is in the Chamber of Secrets, who is Tom Riddle, who are these people? It's this shorter mystery book. And I think an issue the Chamber of Secrets has is that when everything came out later on, in later years, there wasn't so much to go back to Chamber of Secrets and think, well, we knew all of this now, but they didn't when it released. Does that make sense? Does that sound weird to say?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. The mystery stuff definitely. It does. It's crazy going back and watching, like knowing that the end goal. Obviously, J.K. Rowling can come out and say that she had an end goal and an end plan for the end of the films, but it's interesting to see where the sort of the lore, the ideas around like Voldemort were there basically, and like the Horcrux stuff.
I mean, let's talk the Horcrux. It is the side. I mean, I know I'm a bit older. I remember reading the Deathly Hallows in 2007 when it released, and I remember going back to obviously that. Oh my god, it's from the well, no, sorry, it's in Half-Blood Prince. They speak of it, but when I'm going back to maybe watch the film, like, when you get that connective tissue back, and it's this, oh my god, this big moment that it's the diary, it's this, it's you've got to use the sword, you've got to get the basilisk, and it's like it's a really cool way to like go back to that second one, because obviously everything from 3 onwards is like bringing in the adult side. You know, here's all these extra characters and adults and putting in adult situations. The first it created everything. The second is kind of like looked at differently, and I'm in the same boat as you. I don't believe everything was mapped out black and white to the T, which people pretend. But I do think there was a revisit on this concept of, well, if I want to make him invincible, let's be honest, a little bit like Sauron, destroy the beast and destroy him. It's kind of like, well, I did it once already, unintentionally, you know, because ultimately the plan is Tom Riddle wants to come back as Tom Riddle, but it's going to be his 16-year-old. I don't want to say it creepily because he's a child, like in his prime type thing. Like he's not going to come back, you know, without a nose and pale skin and red eyes. He's going to come back as like the 17-year-old, like perfect student everyone loves. And I really think that's quite cool as a story element. But I just think what that then does, and the Horcrux and the concept of the Chamber of Secrets, it adds this sort of mythological layer to Hogwarts of, you know, when they say there are secrets in the castle, I'm sat there like, yeah, no shit. There's a chamber of that's hidden. Like even on Hogwarts Legacy, people have to mod it to put the Chamber of Secrets in. You go to the bathroom and you get the little note because it's like, here's a tease here for something there. And I'm a big fan of the world building in this film as well as book, I should be saying, but particularly, I mean, and also I'm just going to say this outright. The Chamber of Secrets is my favorite set that was ever been done on these films. There's some incredible sets, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we revisit a lot of them a lot more often, like the Great Hall, the Burrow, as I mentioned. The Ministry of Magic looks remarkable, but the Chamber of Secrets set is so impressive.
Yeah,
and
I think it's the face, and
yeah,
I think that's such an iconic
image.
And then even when Harry's in the tunnels, like even that is just so clearly thought out and looks so good. And I think one thing, like, sure, the maybe the film hasn't aged in sort of enjoyment and the pacing, but actually, I think one of the highlights of this film is how good, for a early 2000s film, how good the effects are. And I think that's such a testament to the practical sort of efforts they made. I think the weakest part of these films is when there's like spells and it's like visual effects. But other than that, even the basilisk looks really good. Because I think that's a mix. It's a mixture of practical and CG, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. And you're in like a darker location, a darker set, which makes it a bit easier for artists to work around. It's everything about the basilisk, and to hide it from marketing, which I really hope they hide it. In the problem, not that I have with the show, the problem the show has is you need to treat that audience like they've never seen it, like the films did.
Yeah.
Hide that basilisk off the entirety of marketing, make it the coolest design there ever been. It's going to be hard to top what you've already done, but I'm sure they're working on it. Like, as we said, even the set, like all the snake statues lined up with the face at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you get all like the aura farming jokes from the Odyssey. It's like
Agamemnon.
Yeah, like imagine just sort of like one day, I don't know, Salazar Slytherin just decided I'm not only just I'm gonna hide my evil monster here, I'm gonna make this like the most dashing location. I'm gonna like utilize the old Apple store of less is more with set design. It's great, and I think you're right. It has aged very well, these parts of it, and obviously again not showing the beast until the end, building the potential of what could this monster be. And you know, it ends up as this snake. Of course, it's a snake. It's Slytherin. It makes so much sense, but it makes it so much cooler for that. It's quite adult how they treat it too. I'm just going to say that. But there's also talk about with this film. And whilst we're not doing a story section, I do want to ask your thoughts on the direction. This is Chris Columbus's second film, so we know what he's like. He's done obviously the Philosopher's Stone at this point in time. He's done this. This is the last Harry Potter film he'd work on. He would obviously go off after Prison of Azkaban, not after, but before. What do you make of his direction? Like, I guess we could look at it as a legacy statement, his contribution to Potter, because I do think, and this sounds so harsh to David, oh God, David Yates, and I feel David Yates is given a lot of unfair criticism, but
someone had to make the Fantastic Beasts films. Someone had to make them.
This is like David Yates kind of springboarded off everything that came before. And I mean that complimentary, that he does a very good job with what's come before. And I'm not saying he's a studio guy. Yes, he doesn't have a creative stamp on it like Alfonso Cuarón, right? Which is an insane get for a Potter film looking back, which we'll talk about next week. But there's this sort of brightness to Chris Columbus. It's like a different time, a time before Voldemort. And I think his contribution to Potter from the director's chair is maybe the most important of all the directors.
Yeah. If we're talking, I don't know, this what is it? In hindsight here, but I really like how when you look at sure, Yates had a lot of like examples to use and sort of adapt and make his own. I really do enjoy that you look at the first film and the second film together, and they are very like, I think each, I don't know how to say this without like messing up my words, each iteration of the various directors feels so distinct, and I think that helps the series age, because I feel like if it was 8 films of the same direction, it would start to become very stale. So with the first 2 films, they are very... I'm trying to think, what other films did he do? Like that.
What, Yates?
No, Columbus. What did he do?
He'd done, leading into Harry Potter, he'd done Home Alone, I think Home Alone 2, Mrs. Doubtfire.
So
did he write Gremlins? I think he wrote The Goonies. He was like in Spielberg's setup. Like he was doing those sorts of Spielberg-ish films. I don't want to say really, but he was kind of doing the films that Steven Spielberg couldn't do.
Yeah, he wrote.
As in, like, not couldn't do, but the one. Yeah, like he was doing the films that Spielberg like probably politely passed to the side, which is literally how he got into Harry Potter, because Spielberg dropped out.
Yeah, no, I do like these 2 films. I think they capture a different side of the magic, because I think after Chamber of Secrets, tonally it's a very dark film, but I think after, when we get a really dark sort of iteration, I think these work as a really good family focused. It's still very fantastical in nature, but I think Columbus is such a good pick for these films, and it'd be interesting to see what a Spielberg Potter would look like. But I think Columbus did a good job, and then he went on to do probably one of the worst Percy Jackson adaptations.
It was let's get the guy that did Harry Potter, because let's be honest, we know that Percy Jackson is, the Greek, I don't say the Greek Harry Potter, but the inspiration is there. Let's literally get the guy that did this. Okay, sure.
He's the Greek Harry Potter.
And then Chris Columbus is like, I don't want to do what I already did 10 years ago and do this, so I'm just going to like group a load of them together and go. And I've not watched the Disney Plus series. I've heard it's more faithful adaptation. I've not read them since I was at school. I can't even, if I'm honest, remember anything outside the first couple. But yeah, so let's age them up to be 16, 17, because I don't want to deal with 10-year-olds again. Again, Disney are working on it. It's kind of come fruition, right? The Percy Jackson failed film series turned TV show, and then Harry Potter becomes TV show after Percy Jackson turns TV show. Although I've heard very mixed things about Percy Jackson season 2, and I'll say that. Do you watch it?
I didn't finish it. We'll just end it on that. I didn't finish the season.
That's very fine. We'll get season 3 is coming out. I'm sure I saw that advertised today, and you'll get some more news.
Yeah,
3, no doubt.
Early December. They picked like the worst CG clip to promote the show as well.
Shame.
A lot of people and like a lot of people have this idea that Harry Potter will not make the finish line, but I will throw it out there. Percy Jackson has a higher chance of not being finished if they do not get their arse in gear. I think it will because they've got series 3 in the can. There's only 2 more to make, but if they don't get their shit together, basically, I think it could be another early ending for the franchise. Which is hilarious because in all the press release for season 3, it's like the first time the Titan Curse is being adapted to screen, and it's like, will we get a Battle in the Labyrinth or whatever it's called, which is my favorite Percy Jackson book, the fourth one. So we'll see.
I think Potter's safe when they're building an actual school and not a hut for the kids to go in for 10 years. That's when you know that you're in. And they know the end goal. I think it's like, I don't want to compare it to Rings of Power the wrong way, but I spoke with someone the other day. Rings of Power, when that was announced, it was announced as a 5-season show, and the deal was 5 seasons, 8 episodes a season, no more, no less, no cancellation. But then it came up like Amazon have renewed it for season 3. I was like, but they've already like paid the money for season 3. And I think Potter's the same boat. It's a 7-season order, isn't it? Like they're not gonna wait after Chamber of Secrets. But let's see how it goes before we do 3. It's like, no, those kids got to get them every year on set. They'll be probably on. Where will they be? Is it 10 shoot? They'll be season 2 will probably wrap next spring, and they'll probably have season 3 filming before season 2 releases, which is wild.
It's crazy.
But
that's what we need, though. We need more. We need more TV production to do this.
Shoot annually.
Yeah.
And it's harder with kids. Like the UK law on kids working on set, if they can crank out a Potter series every year, then whatever adult show that people want, they can do, and they're lying to you. I understand House of the Dragon because obviously the visual effects on the dragons. But there's no excuse for the other things. Game of Thrones, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, they've smashed out season 2. They've had filming issues and they're still going to get season 2 out on time next year. So, yeah, it's one of them. Sorry, it's got a weird tangent. But sticking with the Potter stuff, we're going to jump to a mini section. It's going to be a little bit different. This is going to really kick in on the 4th episode. But this is the cut that hurt and the change that worked, where we take an example of a thing that was missed from the books and talk about it, maybe its impact or what we want to see. And then we go the other way around. We take something that they changed that works better. Now, given that they do a pretty faithful adaptation of this book, it's not as easy and it's not as obvious. And the correct answer on what was the cut that was missing that hurt them, I've got 2, but I'm going to talk about them. The first is the headless hunt. That's the obvious one that everyone talks about. That's like the only thing they need to do that wasn't in the film. And for anyone that doesn't know, the night of the first the night of the first basilisk attack, Harry is down in the headless hunt on Halloween. It's very gross. There's moldy food. He goes to the party. They come up the stairs, and that's how they find the first victim. But which leads into Headless Nick backing him up, and then obviously being the next one to get taken out. But it's just cool to get a bit more of the ghosts, which again I understand why the films couldn't do it from a budget standpoint and production, and if it was needed or not. And I'll jump in with the change that works, which is quite simple, is the 4 founders' origin story. This is told in a history of magic lesson by Professor Binns, who is a ghost who teaches the history because he died in the job and carried on doing it unpaid, which there's got to be some unions watching that somewhere. But it's like the only interesting thing he does across 7 seasons is he tells the story of the founders in the Chamber of Secrets. What obviously works the film is not putting a ghost in, but giving it to Maggie Smith to give probably one of the coldest monologues of the entire film series. I love how she delivers it. I know it's really minor, but it's like everyone's paying attention to her even more than they normally would. And you get sort of a bit of gravitas to tell that story. It just makes it feel a bit more real and believable, doesn't it?
I did some research because obviously I must have read this book when I was like 9, and I've not read it since, even though I've got them sat behind me. I think a lot of the opening is changed as well, like that.
Yes.
We get some variation of the Dursleys, which I do think we'll get in the series. Like, I completely didn't realize that Dobby, you see his eyes in the bushes. I think Harry pretends to curse Dudley. I think they're not aware that he can't use magic at this point. And it's just sort of, it's in the film, they just say to him, obviously, that he can't use it. I think that, like you said, there's not too much that is cut, but it'd be cool to see. I think from what we've seen from the series, we're clearly getting a lot more of Privet Drive and the build up
Yeah.
to Harry's arrival and sort of Vernon's day to day. So that it's definitely something we'll be seeing in series 2. But it's probably for the best. I probably would have been traumatized even more by Dobby's ruddy eyes in the bushes. Um, but yeah, that's probably mine. I think you're the one to talk about the cuts. I'm not very memorable
Yeah.
about the
The
books.
the Dursley stuff. The Dursleys is like the bit of comic relief to get you back into the mood, isn't it? And like this film delivers with it. Like when he falls out the window. I think that's actually really funny. And we'll get to episode 3 next week as well. One thing I hope to show is they've really just doubled down on the Dursley stuff. I think every series make it an open. You can sit 20 minutes of them, and I think the criminal thing again, Half Prince, which is like the only film the Dursleys aren't in is 4 and 6. 4 is them meeting the Weasley family, like they come into the home, destroy the home by mistake. Like they come out the fireplace, and they will like feed Dudley sweets, so he's like shitting himself and everything. Obviously, the 5th they have to do pretty accurate because it's so important. And the Half Prince is the best, and it's when Dumbledore takes Harry out, and he basically schools the entire Dursley family like you've basically been disgraces for like 16 years. And it's like the one of the most powerful, because he knows he's dying, he's got nothing more to say. Like, and it's basically Dumbledore comes in, does them all. Whereas in the film, it's like, here's Harry Potter, like trying to rizz up a cafe worker for no reason. Weird scene, but
Very weird.
yeah, I understand that. I mean, let's talk to a couple of characters. So we're not going to sit here talking about this, that, the other, every single little minuscule detail. We've got the Golden Trio: Harry, Hermione, and Ron, played by Dan Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint. Obviously, following up so much on the first one, there's not too much I can say about them. I don't like to judge child actors. I think it's very unfair on them. It makes this segment trickier. But I will say, and we'll probably talk about it again more in the next few weeks, that the acting obviously improves as the series goes on. And like any child who goes from being children to suddenly working on a film set, the more you do it, the better they're going to get, and the more they're developing and getting older, they're going to improve. I think Harry and Hermione are much better in this than the first one, and the reason I put Rupert Grint as this, I thought Rupert Grint is a country mile when they're sort of 10, 11 years old, the standout of the trio in terms of like performance. And I don't mean that like disrespectfully either. I just think he was on that level of child actor, and actually for Rupert Grint, it's the later films where you start to think, God, they wasted him a little bit. Anything you want to add on them, or?
No, not with the 3. I think I know you joked about like talking about child actors. I think I wouldn't call it the worst performance, but a performance that I found myself like I struggled to watch was Tom Riddle. I think he's I don't know, some of the line delivery is just like, I will be powerful. I'm Lord Voldemort. I'm the heir of Slytherin. Like, it's just not good. It's really like some of the lines I don't know if it's the dialogue, like the script he's been given, but it comes off as like you've got Daniel Radcliffe there. Bear in mind he's like 13, 14, working his socks off. And then you've just got Tom Riddle, who's not. I think in the flashback stuff, he's good. But once we're in the chamber, he just loses it. I think once, I don't know.
He's in like exposition mode.
Yeah, like really, really poor. Which
See,
is
I
a
always
shame because
liked
you don't
Tom
really want
Riddle.
to. You don't want to shit on a child's acting performance, but
Well, he's an adult at that age. At that age, I
and I
think he's an
say
adult.
he must be. How old was he?
Probably about 18. Because I know that McAvoy was up for that, which he spoke about very publicly, which I couldn't have imagined.
Christian Coulson. He was born in. It doesn't even say. He was born in Manchester though.
He's probably about 17, 8. Probably no. If he's playing him as like 16, 17 years old, he's probably going to be about 18, I reckon. Just as like a safe rule of the minute. That's fair enough. I mean, do you have anything you want to add on the teachers? Because I've got the core teachers written down: Hagrid, McGonagall, Snape, Dumbledore. They don't really get a lot to do in this one.
He was 23.
23. There we go then. Let's wait and see what you want about him.
Yeah, he was shit. He was shit.
I've got to talk about one teacher in particular. It's going to be. We're going to talk this every episode. This film's defense against the dark arts.
Oh yeah,
the legendary Gilderoy Lockhart, the greatest character in the Harry Potter series for me, played by at this point in time Sir Kenneth Branagh, who has now been knighted in the years that have followed, who's doing a Shakespeare run, I think, at the moment in Stratford. I love this casting, and there's some new characters we'll talk about in this, but this one in particular, to come and have that impact for what one film, come in one chance, you don't return. Unfortunately, should have been the fifth one, different conversation. It's like the reading the room of like he's a fraud. He's scammed everyone. He's faked all these stats, all this sort of stuff, and he's just so inherently naturally funny in it. Like the ridiculous smile to himself, the continued forced laughter, advertising his books to like 11-year-olds if they want to purchase them, having girls fancying him who are like 11 years old and being okay with it. Like he is so funny in this film, so unblissfully self-aware. I love Kenneth Branagh, and this I think will always be my favorite role of his. And I'm saying that's like a thespian legend of the stage. The craziest thing is, I don't know if you know this, Hugh Grant was originally cast in this role, and he had to drop out, I don't think too long before filming started, because of a commitment to the film project he was in. But if you're talking like early 2000s Hugh Grant in this role, in this film with the tone, the director, the performance, right? I actually think it would have been one of Hugh Grant's best. Because now Hugh Grant does the comedy like 20 years later. Now he's in more comedic roles and he's so good at the dry humor. But I think when like he's, let's be honest, like Hugh Grant was regarded as like one of the sexiest actors in the world. Everyone fancied him. He was one of the rom-coms. He was everyone's mum's crush. If you'd have put him in this, that is Gilderoy Lockhart, I think. And I think it would have been just perfect for 2002.
Yeah, I am. Even before talking about Hugh Grant, Branagh's so good in this film. I think once he drops the act when he's sent to save Ginny is so good, because it's it reminds you of like the Wizard of Oz, when you realize that this guy isn't who he says he is, and he doesn't have to he loses his aura basically. It's a great performance. Probably, I think, one of my favorite Defense Against the Dark Arts teachers. It's probably his number one. Let's be real. Hugh Grant would have been great. Little elements. I can't remember his character in Paddington, but this sort of
He was like the villain, wasn't he?
Very showmany vibes that I think would have worked really well. So yeah, Lockhart's great. I also really love Moaning Myrtle in this film.
Yes.
I think it's crazy. Shirley Henderson's like what, mid to late 30s, convincing as a teen girl. It's mental. Really good. This is the first film, isn't it? Or is she in the first one?
This is her first film. She pops up in Goblet of Fire and still hasn't aged today.
It's crazy.
And she also now plays all the Inzalians in Star Wars, which is phenomenal. One of the standouts of the Mandalorian and Grogu. I want to talk. We've got some big names that join, right? And I won't go deep into all of them. We've got Robert Hardy playing Cornelius Fudge, who obviously has got a much bigger role in obviously Order of Phoenix is like that main event, but we see a little bit more of him. I'm very excited for Bertie Carvel in the show. I know they cast him in season 1, so we're going to get him like from the beginning rather than just later on. Given what he did on Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I think that's like immediately one of the casting news that's got everyone's eyes on him. I won't lean too much on Dobby out of respect for your childhood. Toby Jones voices Dobby, which I feel like everyone at one point had a moment in life where they realised that Toby Jones was Dobby, and everyone's like, oh, and then they just continue their day.
He sounds, last night when I watched, he does sound like Toby Jones. And I don't know if that's now that I've had the chance to watch a lot of Toby Jones performances, but like it does, you can hear it.
Yeah. I can hear it. You're right, I can hear it with him. It's the high pitched, so I'm like thinking of his dialogue in my head. I don't think he's naturally got a high pitched voice, but when he puts it a bit higher, it also sounds like his normal voice. So, some people can almost change their voice identity. His still feels like himself, but with the squeak. But oh yeah, he's great.
Because he's got that low. He's got the low register in his voice, but he's still like when he's high pitch. I won't do a Dobby impression.
No, let's not. You might unlock PTSD.
Mark
Williams. Mark Williams is Mr. Weasley, who I think is perfect in this film, perfect in the series. One of the best names you could have ever had to play Mr. Weasley. Feels like the logic of Mr. Weasley is as a character. He's the inherently only good father in the entirety of the book canon. I don't really count. Well, I mean, Harry Potter's as a piece of shit, but that's a different conversation. But he's the only good father figure, and he's Harry's father figure. And the Weasley family, for very obvious reasons, are pointed out as that. And I think the opening scene of the intro, very regal. Finding out, the kids have been naughty. He's like, how did it go? And like, because that's what a lot of dads do, don't like. They're like buzzing, and then it's like, oh, you've been very wrong. Like it's that like fake telling off we've all had. It feels so. It's like second nature to him, and I love his sort of relation. Like the Weasley family's got great chemistry. Obviously, we've seen them all doing post Potter meeting up at conventions, all this sort of stuff. But yeah, I love Mark Williams as Mr. Weasley in this. Anything on your thoughts before I round off on the best new character?
No.
Okay.
Keep going.
We've got to talk about the legend that is Mr. Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy, who auditioned, I believe, for Gilderoy Lockhart originally.
Oh.
And they were like, no, we want you as Lucius. And I think he'd just done Captain Hook. I think he's in there's too many Peter Pan films, but he'd just done Captain Hook. He's like, I didn't want this OTT or this. And they were like, trust me, go down as Lucius Malfoy. He watched the first film. He looked at Tom Felton's performance. I was like, right, okay, if my son's going to act like that, I need to take that and sort of dial it up. And that's where you have the sort of, he's such a great character. Like the wig is incredible. I can't show it because my ring light. I've got the cane here. This is like one of the best things I ever bought when I was 18 years old.
Oh my god.
It's sick. I've just pulled it out of the top because I can't pull the whole thing, but it's sharp as well. But he is just the absolute best. I love him. And Jason Isaacs himself.
With that. That'd be sick.
You probably could, It's sharp. Like if you stab your like fingers into that, it's gonna hurt. Murder weapon. Bang. It's heavy as well. But just the way he goes to put the killing spell on a 12-year-old boy that lost him his house slave. Like he has no, you mentioned aura earlier. He's the whole series is him losing his aura film by film. But the fact is like shit, the ministry's raiding like our houses. Let me put this book in place that could open the Chamber of Secrets and kill people just because I dislike the head teacher. Every time it's even the way he speaks. Like I'm not going to do an impression, but there's like a gap but like he really emphasizes the final words on sentences. He like breathes at the end of his dialogue, and I think there's so much I can add to Jason Isaacs, and I'll maybe talk about him a lot more in Order of Things. But the one thing I loved as a kid, right, and it's the coolest thing, those Nimbus 2001 designs are immaculate. I would much rather have a Nimbus 2001 than the Nimbus 2000. They are black, they are sleek, they are polished, they are quicker. It's basically the EA pay to win, which Slytherin failed.
That's the point, though.
I know.
To be the better. They're meant to be the better ones.
It's like, it's like, oh, the Nimbus 2000. I just presumed that was like last year's broomstick, like the new iPhone. But like the 2001's, like, yeah, man, he just bought the whole team one each, and his look of disgust when his son like crashes. It's like when Zidane was watching his Algerian son in goal when they lost like 4-0 to Argentina. It just cut him in the stands, absolutely fuming. I'm a huge fan of this character. As a fan of the character, it's more the performance. The character is detestable. He is the worst possible father figure, which I guess we'll get into later on to the series develops of Draco Malfoy and where his character goes. But I've spoke for so long. What are your thoughts on Lucius?
He's incredible. I think you've just brushed upon it. I think one of my favorite things is because he is very present in these films. I adore how at the start when we first meet Malfoy, he's very well looked after. He is clearly wealthy. He looks the best in this film, and then by the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2, he looks like a bum. When they're in the courtyard of Hogwarts for the final battle, he looks like a bum. He's washed. I think that's one of my favorite details throughout the franchise. He's such an interesting character who will do anything to push himself, but also for Voldemort. As obviously he's one of the elite few by Goblet of Fire. But it's interesting to see later on how his failures sort of pull him back, and sort of Draco takes his place, and this, that, and the other. But Jason Isaacs is a fantastic actor. I think he brings a lot to the role. He's got good chemistry with Felton in any of the films. But it's such a wicked first introduction in Diagon Alley when we first see him, because it's at the Lockhart signing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he drops the diary and thingy's cauldron. Yeah, it's a great performance. I think excluding Isaacs, I think it's a testament to these films that they have such a raw cast of British talent. Like in every film, it's like a pick and mix of British actors, old and new. As we later see in like, we get some up and comers in later films who are now like big box office names. But it's one of the highlights of these films is there's so many fantastic names throughout.
Definitely. I mean, sticking with this, we'll segue into the next segment before we slowly start rounding out. It's still called Look at Them Now. That sounds like an insult. This is where the guest picks an actor and talks about their career 25 years later. Now, I don't know who you picked, so I've got Wiki/IMDb ready to go. Well, that sounds like Code Rose. Who do you want to talk about?
Who do I want to talk about? He's a very small role in this one, but he still isn't it. I'm going to talk about Mr. Dean Thomas, played by Alfred Enoch.
Yeah.
Now, for years and years, I have wanted to see Alfred play the Doctor. Now, Alfred has we'll talk about his acting after, but his father was the very first original companion in Doctor Who, William Russell Enoch, as he's more formally known. His biggest sort of post-Potter role, he was in How to Get Away with Murder, an ABC crime sitcom with Viola Davis. I think he was in Foundation as well on Apple. But I think he a lot of the child actors from these films, a lot of them aren't really still acting. When you look at like Seamus or basically any of them, some of them are doing OnlyFans, some of them are like doing like crazy stuff. Some of them just aren't acting; they're on cameo. But I think
Playing
it was great
themselves
to
again.
see. Yes, oh my god, I hate that. I hate that car advert.
Yes.
Do you know the one I'm on
I
about?
wasn't.
Oh
Yeah,
my
no, it's been at the
god.
cinema far too much recently.
The driver doesn't pick the car; it's the car that picks the driver. Like, shut up! I've never known, and do you know what? He's great as Draco, but I've never known a more washed up actor. Like, it's really bad. Like, can we not move on? Can
The
we?
thing is, right, I love the idea of returning to play Malfoy at the right age for a theatre run, right? But then when he extended the New York stint another few months, I was like, are you not even going to do London? I'd understand it for like a year-long gimmick if he did half in New York, half in London. But if he's going to do this for like 2-3 years, okay, the money's going to be mega from Fair Cop. But I'm just sat there like, every day you're playing Draco. And I love, a lot of the actors have gone out to see him. But it's just like, heading into these films, he was the most talented child actor. He'd been in a lot more. Been P. Green in The Borrowers, been a lot of different things. Planet of the Apes came out 2011. He was starting his post-Potter work, and then he just didn't really do anything. And then he's become.
He did the Flash.
I stopped watching after like 1 or 2 seasons.
Oh,
but sorry to cut away from Alfie Enoch.
That was my fault.
No, I'm glad you've picked him because you are 100% correct. This is an actor that I don't think many people could name drop. We spoke about Harry Melling last week, Alfie Enoch this week. When I got my tickets for the Mad King, for the Shakespeare play, which will Game of Thrones play, which at the time of recording, the first preview, aka the 6th preview, is apparently happening. At the RSC, Alfie Enoch was the lead of what was on at that point in time. It was Henry V. And he's going to be in, speaking with this as well, the Cherry Orchard, which starts, I think, now or very soon. He's going to be in that with Gilderoy Lockhart, a.k.a. Sir Kenneth Branagh, in Stratford again. And I think it's really fascinating that he's had a really good career, but he hasn't. You don't need to have the breakthrough, the big screen, the films and TV, but you look at those young actors, which is the point of us doing this series, looking back 25 years later, and you can pick someone out and look what they're up to now. And I think I'm so happy you picked him. I didn't think anyone would.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I didn't know about his dad being in Doctor Who either.
It's crazy. Wild. It's crazy. Like I didn't know until a few years ago, and there's a picture of him a few years ago. Because obviously his dad had come back for an episode, and literally a one scene cameo. But I think he'd be a great Doctor. And it's like I sort of touched upon. So many of the actors from these films, you would think, like a huge franchise would sort of open you up to all these acting opportunities, but so many few of these actors, and I think it might just because they were young. It might have been like the parents sent them to acting school or like a drama club that they became actors. So to have a small number of the sort of ensemble Hogwarts cast still acting, I think is great to see because there's so little of them still acting or doing anything when they're not like appearing on cooking Harry Potter shows or doing studio tour promo, like a few of them, like the twins, Ginny.
Cooking show. I saw the first season. Underrated. My criticism: there was like no British people in it. That was my main criticism. But I don't.
They did something with Helen Mirren as well, didn't they?
Oh, that was like a weird Sky Games show. That was weird. I didn't watch that. I'm not gonna lie. That was. I think
the cooking show would have been Food Network.
Yeah, because it was on Prime. It's on Prime here. But yeah, there was some really cool stuff on there. I recommend that to anyone curious. I'm glad you picked him. Let's talk about someone else before we head into sort of legacy and final thoughts. We've got to talk about the score by John Williams, the John Williams. 2002 was a wild time. I'm sure you know what I'm about to talk about. There is a piece of music used in not just the Chamber of Secrets, not just Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, but Minority Report, where there are 3 of the exact same music cues used. I believe the phrase is booked and busy is John Williams in 2002, that he had to actually delegate a lot of the scoring of the Chamber of Secrets to obviously the London Orchestra, but one of the other conductors, because he was juggling all these projects at once. Obviously, his commitments to Lucas and Star Wars, to Harry Potter, and then also to Steven Spielberg, when we know that, I'm not going to say Harry Potter's third choice now, but you could look at where the career goes in 2005 onwards, and yes, it's third choice compared to them two. Totally understandable. I still love the Chamber of Secrets score. Obviously, you're going back to back with Philosopher's Stone, like the one that introduced it all. And I think because the Prisoner of Azkaban score is so wildly different to this, not that different, but introduces new themes, ideas, this isn't really spoken about as much, but it's still a banging soundtrack. It's John Williams. Of course it is.
I think there's a musical cue at the end. I don't know what I should know this because I have a lot of Harry Potter stuff in my film score playlist on Spotify. I think it's in the first one when they get on the trains, and they play. I'm sure they play it again at the end of the second one, but the that is there's so much iconic music. Like I'm not really one to go and watch films when they play the score, but honestly, if like Harry Potter, Philosopher's Stone, or even this one, to be fair, I think Williams' score is so good. Like we talk about, like, we associate films with scores. I think I don't know if that's because working at the cinema we were surrounded by the film score on the soundtrack that played, but I think a film score is just as important as the film itself. Like there's so many, like, not to diverge, but to bring in Marvel. A lot of the memorable Marvel films have memorable film scores. Like you look at Black Widow, not to pick on Black Widow. Black Widow, not one bit of that score is memorable. You look at Iron Man, that first Iron Man film alone, Captain America, the Avengers, because they've got such good music, it makes those films 10 times better. Like the portal scene, imagine if there was no music in Endgame when those portals are opening. Obviously, it's still going to be cool, but you don't have the sort of the push, the direction from the musical cues to think, oh shit, like this is crazy, this is really good. And I think Harry Potter is the same. Hedwig's theme. I'm sure one's called Welcome to Hogwarts or something like that. It's just really good. It's really good. It's great music, and very similar to the first film score, but obviously it will be same director, same musical cues. It's great. It's, dare I say, top 10 film scores of all time. As if you look at Harry Potter as a whole.
I agree. I think the iconography and I think, to bring up the show once more, the biggest one, maybe the biggest challenge the show has, is the music.
Yep.
You can get away with visually making Hogwarts because people will still think that can be Hogwarts, right? You shut your eyes, you hear the music. And I know it's going to be Hans Zimmer. And it's not the first time Hans Zimmer's, done a score that John Williams did previously. You can look at Superman for that. Very different. But I'm very intrigued to see what they do. Because if any piece of music were to stay, it's going to be that main theme. And I don't know how audiences would. It reminds me of Game of Thrones, like House of the Dragon had to keep the main theme because it was so associated. And okay, cool, we got a war drum for season 3, which is actually very fucking cool. But I don't know what Hans Zimmer can do to Harry Potter, but I'm excited to see what he does. But it's going to be tricky.
I think they should do what they did with X-Men 97, where you still have the same feel, but you try and reinvent it in a new way. So it's not just a copy and paste, because I think without the I think they're missing out. I think they need to use that. But it'll be interesting to see how much they copy and how much is new. Like, will Harry's theme be completely new, or like what will one of Hans Zimmer's assistants come up with for this?
Yeah. What they call, like, the sticky fingers, or they've got a really weird name, haven't they? Like, who's
That
doing
bleeding summer.
bleeding finger? We'll find out. We'll find out in a few minutes, my friend. The
Bleeding,
score's going to be the
bleeding
big one.
fingers. Bleeding
I mean,
fingers.
yeah,
There's not really
who
a
knows?
score in the trailer, is there?
Again, whether we get one in September, I assume we will. I don't think we're going to hear anything until, assuming they do a title sequence because it's HBO. That first episode title sequence is going to potentially hit like crack. Like, there's so much they've got to do design wise, and I'm very intrigued and excited because it's HBO. But if we move away from the score, we'll talk the legacy of this film. So this would make $883 million off of a $100 million budget. Very successful. I just really want to quickly talk about the year 2002 in film. And I'm not here to suck up to studios, but there's something quite incredible about nostalgia. And if I look at the top 6 highest grossing films right of 2002, I'm not going to do this in every episode. I'm picking 6 for a reason. In 6th place, you've got a James Bond film. You've got Die Another Day. 5th place, okay, Men in Black. We can move on quickly. But this is where it becomes elite. I just needed to talk about James Bond. You had Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. We have to call it now, the original Spider-Man, Sam Raimi 2002. The Chamber of Secrets, and then Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Like,
What? Yeah.
Audiences were feasting in that year. And there is a lot of nostalgia vision on there. And I'm not saying films like now don't hit like they did back then. But, oh man, like, even the top 2 alone, you had Lord of the Rings films coming out with Harry Potter films a month apart for two out of 3 years in a row. I think Fellowship came out same month as Philosophers, and obviously Chamber in this will. And today that can never happen. Although we do get House of the Dragon the same year as Rings of Power, which I think is interesting because that's happened 3 times I think now. But sticking, looking at this film, I kind of want to ask you before we go into sort of our fun thoughts, where does it stand? Do you have a favourite scene? I mean, I'll jump in quite easy with mine. The Basilisk.
Yeah, nice. Despite my anguish for the character, I do love the comedy of the cake falling on the woman's head in the Dursley's house. But then my favourite part from film 1 and 2 will always be Diagon Alley. The whole sequence where Harry ends up on, was it Nocturne Alley? Diagon Alley? Whatever he says.
Oh, it's a good thing Diagon Alley's next door to On Alley.
Great writing. That, I think the Diagon Alley stuff in film 2 is my favourite. And then any Quidditch. I'm so excited to see how they adapt Quidditch for the series, if it's going to be the exact same style or but yeah, probably Diagon Alley and Quidditch for me. Or the Pixies.
Yes, Cornish Pixies, great. I love that.
Cornish Pixies. Yeah. I'm gonna say Cornish Pixies actually. I'm gonna lock it.
No, that's fair. Another great scene, Lockhart, Neville as well, who's had another
Neville.
Two. But this is talking about Final Thoughts. So I'm not saying it's grading a film or anything, but when we did the Philosopher's Stone, we put in the schedule the phrase "Where does it stand in the series?" Not to make it a ranking, but we sort of looked at the Philosopher's Stone itself, and it just sort of blend into Final Thoughts and a little bit what we spoke about at the beginning, but sort of the same nearer the end. The Chamber of Secrets is a really unique position that, not from what we just mentioned, shortest book, longest film. We've been quite open on the film and some of the great story beats and whatnot. It is a film that I feel is by the wayside, that when people talk about the series, it's not one in the immediate conversation. Like most people, I would say, tend to speak about the Philosopher's Stone, The Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, and Deathly Hallows. Yeah, like little bit of Order of the Phoenix, not as much as I'd like, but in terms of like the film people seem to watch the most, talk about the most. And the Chamber of Secrets, because I have it as this banner, as the sort of back-to-back with the first, that it was the really, some makes like a criticism these days, the bright coloured era of the golden logo before things got really dark, it sort of sits on its own. And it's so integral to the last story with the Horcrux and the creation of them. But it just doesn't seem to get people talking about it. And maybe it's the runtime.
It sort of worked in tandem with Half-Blood Prince as well. I think those two are like the black sheep of the franchise. They serve purpose for the world building and the Horcrux and the sort of the stuff that's going on, but they're not the most talked about, like you said. It's a weird one because all of them have a different purpose, but they just sort of are sidetracked slightly. I don't know. It's like if I think 1 and 3 are the most talked about films, definitely outside of the finale. I think Goblet of Fire is when stuff starts to really hit the fan. Voldemort popping up at the end. Again, Order of the Phoenix. Dare I say that was like, I don't know, because I don't know what the highest grossing one for me. Like, I feel like that's when everyone was talking about Harry Potter. Order of the Phoenix.
Highest grossing is definitely Hallows Part 2.
Okay. Which
followed, I think, by Philosophers. But I know Philosophers had a few more re-releases.
Interesting. But yeah, I feel like for me, Order of the Phoenix was like the peak of Harry Potter.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I remember the marketing on that. That was where it felt like, as you said, peak. It's like heading into the final act, isn't it?
Yeah, it was outside of Deathly Hallows. It was the highest grossing. Oh no, it wasn't. Source, obviously Philosopher's Stone.
Ooh. Yeah, sorry, Josh, I just caught you there. Almost said the S word. But
it says on this website that I'm reading, it does say Sorcerer's Stone. So
is it Box Office
Mojo?
Mojo?
No, it's thenumbers.com.
Oh. It's bloody Americans, man. We had a massive tangent about Philosopher and Sorcerer last week. There is a big difference, people. Big difference. And thankfully, the new series is being called The Philosopher's Stone.
I was going to say they've done a mad one.
If they had dared,
Philosopher's Stone. What's a Philosopher's Stone?
That's
how they can say we're different from the films. We're different from the films.
Americans have to discover the word philosopher this year, and they're only about 35 years old this time. Not to insult our audience. But no, that's totally. And kind of heading into the outro on this episode, Josh, it's been a lot of fun talking this with you. Gone a lot longer than I thought we would on. Well, I know we've gone on a bit of tangents here, there, and elsewhere. But next up, we're going to be talking Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, of course. The Prisoner of Azkaban is next, the third entry in the series. Things are being very busy. We've got a lot of videos happening. We're planning stuff for the future. We've got this series covering us through to August. Going to get us on social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, all under linktree.com/cinemasavvy. But Josh, what are you up to at the moment? Where can the people find you?
We are preparing for what might be the biggest month for Popped ever. I'm flying out to California, as we mentioned before, for D23. I'm there for a week. I'm going to try and get as much content as I can whilst I'm over there. Live tweeting from the entertainment and the experiences showcase. Trying to do bits and bobs here and there. But you can find us on @PopNews on virtually the main social medias, Instagram Reels, or on Facebook, TikTok, though we don't really use TikTok, and then YouTube as well, and X. And you can find me, Josh M_Jones, on most social medias, mainly Instagram and X and TikTok. Where I'm now, I've rebranded on TikTok ahead of this month, and to get rid of my name on social media for work-related things. So I'm now @JoshWatches. So you can find that as well.
Everybody, get Josh on there. I'll be watching your D23 coverage. I'll return the favour of Celebration next year. We're kind of doing the same trip 6 months apart, which is kind of funny.
It's mad, isn't it?
Just imagine
I'm so excited.
I'm envious. I'm not gonna lie. There's going to be a few things which you might be there for, which I'm excited by. But everyone, follow Josh and there. Follow Popped. It's been a lot of fun having you on. This is going to be me running out. I hope you've all enjoyed watching today. Thank you all so much for your time, your attention, and my insults. We'll see you all in the next one. Take care.